and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Naurin. In today's bulletin, we will present important news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. North Carolina power outages could last days after shootings. Trump rebuked for call to suspend Constitution over election. Blinken vows US support for Israel despite unease over government. Knight, Clooney, Grant feted at Kennedy Center honors. Bob McGrath, Sesame Street legend, dies at 90. Pfizer asks FDA to clear updated COVID shot for kids under 5. Search for Johannesburg worshipper swept by flood, 14 dead. India signals it will continue to buy oil from Russia. China eases controls, gives no sign when zero COVID ends. Russia's Putin drives across repaired bridge to Crimea. Russia fires more missiles, claims Kiev hit its air bases. Three Chinese astronauts return to Earth after 6-month mission. $2,500 dead sails found on Russia's Caspian coast. North Korea fires artillery near border in warning to South Korea. Cowboys score 33 points in fourth quarter, rout calls 54-19. Serbia charged by FIFA for team fans conduct at World Cup. And Neymar scores, Brazil beats South Korea 4-1 at World Cup. Now news in detail. Two power substations in North Carolina County were struck by gunfire in what is being investigated as a criminal act, causing damage that could take days to repair and leaving tens of thousands of people without electricity, authorities said, in response to ongoing outages which began just after 7 p.m. Saturday across Moore County. Officials announced a state of emergency that included a curfew from 9 p.m. Sunday to 5 a.m. Monday. Also, county schools were closed Monday. An attack like this on critical infrastructure is a serious intentional crime, and I expect state and federal authorities to thoroughly investigate and bring those responsible to justice, Governor Roy Cooper wrote on Twitter. Moore County Sheriff Ronnie Field said at a Sunday news conference that authorities have not determined a motivation. He said someone pulled up and opened fire on the substation, the same thing with the other one. The sheriff said that it appeared gates were breached at both sides. The Pilot newspaper in Southern Pines reported that a wooden post holding up a gate had been snapped at one of the substations and that it was lying in an access road Sunday morning. Former President Donald Trump faced rebuke Sunday from officials in both parties after calling for the termination of parts of the Constitution over his lie that the 2020 election was stolen. Trump, who announced last month that he is running again for president, made the claim over the weekend on his Truth social media platform. A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution, he wrote. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. Incoming House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries on Sunday described Trump's statement as strange and extreme and said Republicans will have to make a choice whether to continue embracing Trump's anti-democratic views. Republicans are going to have to work out their issues with the former president and decide whether they are going to break from him and return to some semblance of reasonableness or continue to lean into the extremism, not just of Trump, but Trumpism, Jeffries said. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Sunday the US will not shrink from its unwavering support for Israel despite stark differences with Prime Minister-elect Benjamin Netanyahu and concerns the Biden administration may have about potential members of his incoming right-wing government. Speaking to a left-leaning group that some on the right accuse of being too sympathetic to the Palestinians and Iran, Blinken said the United States will remain a stalwart friend of Israel even as it pursues goals that Netanyahu has opposed, including a two-state resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and a restoration of the languishing 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Blinken said the Biden administration would engage with Netanyahu's government based on its policies and not on personalities, including potential senior cabinet ministers who have expressed vehement anti-Palestinian and anti-Arab views in the past. But Blinken also warned that the US would object to policies that marginalize the Palestinians, diminish their horizon for hope, or make a two-state resolution more difficult. A heartfelt Patti LaBelle praised her lifelong friend Gladys Knight. Sean Penn called U2 four scrappy Dublin punks. Ballet dancers performed for conductor and composer Tania Leon. Matt Damon playfully teased his friend George Clooney a lot, while Sheryl Crow delivered a heartfelt rendition of Baby Baby to Amy Grant during Sunday's Kennedy Center honors. Knight, Clooney, Grant, Leon, and U2 were all celebrated at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, which annually honors a select group of people for their artistic influences on American culture. President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and their respective spouses were in attendance, as were members of the President's Cabinet and Congress. Normally, performers like U2 or Knight would be headlining such a show, but during the Kennedy Center event, the honorees sit in the balcony and watch as their peers laud them and perform their works. The honorees came to the theater from a White House reception, where Biden praised them before a star-studded East Room crowd as an exceptional group of artists. "Thank you for showing us the power of the arts and we, the people," Biden said. The last honoree of the night was U2. In a video taped Saturday, U2 guitarist The Edge noted that a group of 4 Irish lads were being honored for contributions to American culture and said there is a bond between the group and America that can't really be explained. Bob McGrath, an actor, musician, and children's author widely known for his portrayal of one of the first regular characters on the children's show Sesame Street, has died at the age of 90. McGrath's passing was confirmed by his family, who posted on his Facebook page on Sunday. The McGrath family has some sad news to share. Our father, Bob McGrath, passed away today. He died peacefully at home, surrounded by his family. Sesame Workshop tweeted Sunday evening that it mourns the passing of Bob McGrath, a beloved member of the Sesame Street family for over 50 years. McGrath was a founding cast member of Sesame Street when the show premiered in 1969, playing a friendly neighbor Bob Johnson. He made his final appearance on the show in 2017, marking an almost 5-decade-long figure in the Sesame Street world. Pfizer is asking US regulators to authorize its updated COVID-19 vaccine for children under age 5, not as a booster but part of their initial shots. Children ages 6 months through 4 years already are supposed to get 3 extra small doses of the original Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, each a tenth of the amount adults receive, as their primary series. If the Food and Drug Administration agrees, a dose of Pfizer's bivalent Omicron targeting vaccine would be substituted for their third shot. Pfizer and its partner, BioNTech, said Monday that may help prevent severe illness and hospitalization from COVID-19 in little kids, at a time when children's hospitals already are packed with youngsters hit by other respiratory illnesses. Few of the nation's youngest children have gotten their COVID-19 vaccinations since the shots were okayed in June. Just 2% of tots under 2 and about 4% of 2 to 4-year-olds have gotten their primary doses so far, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Now it's time for global updates. The death toll from the tragic flash flood that swept away members of a church congregation along the Jukskei River in Johannesburg has risen from 9 to 14, officials have confirmed. Rescue teams on Monday resumed search operations for at least 3 people still missing. 12 bodies were recovered on Sunday, in addition to the 2 bodies recovered on Saturday, Johannesburg Emergency Services spokesman Robert Mulaudzi said. Members of the congregation were participating in rituals along the river when a flash flood swept away several of the worshippers. The riverside services were being conducted near the populous Alexandra Township in eastern Johannesburg. Some of the bodies, however, were found far downstream on the Jukskei, one of Johannesburg's largest rivers. Rescue operations were delayed on Monday due to heavy rains. India will prioritize its own energy needs and continue to buy oil from Russia, its foreign minister signaled Monday, as Western governments press Moscow with a price cap to squeeze its earnings from oil exports. Minister of External Affairs Subramaniam Jaishankar made the comments after holding talks with his visiting German counterpart, Annalena Baerbock, in which they discussed bilateral relations and Russia's war in Ukraine. Jaishankar said it isn't right for European countries to prioritize their energy needs but ask India to do something else. Europe will make the choices it will make. It is their right, he told reporters. India has so far not committed to the $60 per barrel price cap on Russian oil set by the group of 7 major industrialized countries and European Union that was expected to come into effect Monday. The move is an attempt by Western governments to limit fossil fuel earnings that support Moscow's budget, its military and its invasion of Ukraine, while also avoiding a possible sharp price spike if Russia's oil is suddenly taken off the global market. China is easing some of the world's most stringent antivirus controls, and authorities say new variants are weaker. But they have yet to say when they might end a zero-COVID strategy that confines millions of people to their homes and set off protests and demands for President Xi Jinping to resign. On Monday, commuters in Beijing and at least 16 other cities were allowed to board buses and subways without a virus test in the previous 48 hours for the first time in months. Industrial centers including Guangzhou near Hong Kong have reopened markets and businesses and lifted most curbs on movement while keeping restrictions on neighborhoods with infections. The government announced plans last week to vaccinate millions of people in their 70s and 80s, a condition for ending zero-COVID restrictions that keep most visitors out of China and have disrupted manufacturing and global trade. That spurred hopes for a quick end to zero-COVID. But health experts and economists warn it will be mid-2023 and possibly 2024 before vaccination rates are high enough and hospitals are prepared to handle a possible rash of infections. China on Sunday reported 2 additional deaths from COVID-19. Russian President Vladimir Putin tried to boost Russian morale Monday by driving a vehicle across a bridge to Crimea that a truck bomb had damaged in October. Putin took the wheel to drive across the bridge that links Russia's mainland with the Crimean Peninsula, which Moscow annexed from Ukraine in 2014. While driving, he discussed the repairs of the Crimean bridge with Marat Kusnulin, a deputy prime minister in charge of the project, an exchange that was broadcast by Russian television. The president also spoke to workers involved in restoring the 19-kilometer bridge, which has been the main conduit for ferrying supplies to Crimea that has served as a key base for Russian military operations in Ukraine. Ukraine's Air Force said Monday it shot down more than 60 of about 70 missiles that Russia fired on in its latest barrage against Ukraine. It was the latest onslaught as part of Moscow's new stepped-up campaign that has largely targeted Ukrainian infrastructure and disrupted supplies of power, water and heat in the country as winter looms. Early indications showed Russia fired 38 cruise missiles from ships in the Caspian Sea and from the southern Russian region of Rostov. Another 22 caliber cruise missiles were fired from its Black Sea fleet, Ukraine's Air Force said on its Telegram page. The attack also involved Russian long-range bombers, fighter jets and guided missiles, it said. 3 Chinese astronauts landed in a northern desert on Sunday after 6 months working to complete construction of the Tiangong station, a symbol of the country's ambitious space program, state TV reported. A capsule carrying Commander Chen Dong and astronauts Liu Yang and Chai Juzhe touched down at a landing site in the Gobi Desert in northern China at approximately 8:10 p.m., China Central Television reported. Prior to departure, they overlapped for almost 5 days with 3 colleagues who arrived Wednesday on the Shenzhou 15 mission for their own 6-month stay, marking the first time China had 6 astronauts in space at the same time. The station's third and final module docked with the station this month. The astronauts were carried out of the capsule by medical workers about 40 minutes after touchdown. They were all smiles and appeared to be in good condition, waving happily at workers at the landing site. About 2,500 seals have been found dead on the Caspian Sea coast in southern Russia, officials said Sunday. Authorities in the Russian province of Dagestan said it was unclear why the mass die-off happened, but that it was likely due to natural causes. Regional officials initially reported Saturday that 700 dead seals were found on the coast, but the Dagestan division of the Russian Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment later raised the figure to about 2,500. Jaur Gafizov, head of the Caspian Environmental Protection Center, said in a statement that the seals likely died a couple of weeks ago. He added that there was no sign that they were killed or caught in fishing nets. Experts of the Federal Fisheries Agency and prosecutors inspected the coastline and collected data for laboratory research, which didn't immediately spot any pollutants. Several previous incidents of mass seal deaths were attributed to natural causes. Kazakhstan, which has a long Caspian coastline, reported at least 3 such incidents this year. North Korea fired about 130 artillery rounds on Monday into the water near its western and eastern sea borders with South Korea, the latest military action contributing to worsening relations between the neighbors. North Korea's military said the firing were a warning against ongoing South Korean artillery exercises near the inland border town of Cheonan and blamed the South for worsening tensions. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the North Korean weapons fired Monday afternoon from North Korea's western and eastern coastal areas fell within the northern side of buffer zones created under a 2018 inter-Korean agreement to reduce military tensions. There were no immediate reports of shells falling inside South Korean territorial waters. South Korea's military said it communicated a verbal warning to North Korea over the firings and urged it to abide by the agreement. The South Korean and US militaries were closely monitoring North Korea's military activities while strengthening their readiness to respond to any potential contingency, the Joint Chiefs of Staff said in a statement. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,474.79. The NYSE composite is decreased by 292.23 points or 1.85%. Tokyo stock close price is 27,820.40. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 42.50 points or 0.15%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,211.8144. The Shanghai Composite Index is increased by 55.67 points or 1.76%. Hong Kong stock close price is 19,518.29. The Hang Seng Index is increased by 842.94 points or 4.51%. Bombay stock close price is 62,834.60. The Sensex index is decreased by 33.90 points or 0.05%. Now a look of today's sports stories. Dallas safety Malik Hooker had no idea what he was starting with a fumble return for a touchdown early in the fourth quarter against his former team. The 38-yard TD return was part of a 33-point fourth quarter that turned a close game into the Cowboys' 54-19 rout of the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday night. It was just the third time in NFL history a team has scored at least that many in the fourth, and it was a little bit personal for Hooker, who also had one of three interceptions of Matt Ryan. Hooker was drafted 15th overall by the Colts in 2017, but didn't get a second contract after 4 injury-plagued seasons. He signed with Dallas during training camp last year. FIFA brought disciplinary charges against Serbia on Monday for alleged misconduct by players and fans, including offensive chants at a World Cup match against Switzerland. Tensions flared in the stands and on the field in a rematch of their stormy game at the 2018 World Cup that revived ethnic Balkan rivalries. Switzerland was captained by Granit Xhaka in Friday's match, and Xherdan Shaqiri scored the opening goal in a 3-2 win that eliminated Serbia. Both Swiss players have ethnic Albanian roots and family ties to Kosovo, which declared independence from Serbia in 2008. Serbia doesn't recognize Kosovo's sovereignty. FIFA didn't specify which incidents at Stadium 974 led to charges relating to misconduct of players and officials, discrimination and misconduct of players and officials. Now World Cup football match reports. Croatia is going deep at another World Cup and the team is taking the long route once again. Goalkeeper Dominik Livakovic saved 3 penalty kicks in Croatia's 3-1 win over Japan in a shootout on Monday, securing a return to the quarterfinals for the runner-up in the 2018 tournament. The match was tied at 1-1 after extra time. Neymar scored a goal in his return from injury and Brazil beat South Korea 4-1 to advance to the quarterfinals of the World Cup on Monday. Neymar converted a first-half penalty for his 76th goal with Brazil and moved one shy of Pelé all-time scoring record with the national team. Vinicius Jr., Richarlison and Lucas Paqueta also scored in the first half for Brazil, which made it to the quarterfinals of the World Cup for the 8th straight time. South Korea was trying to advance past the round of 16 for the first time since its historic run as a co-host in 2002, when it made it to the semi-finals and ended up 4th. Park Seong-woo scored South Korea's goal in the 76th minute. Let's have a look on today's weather chart. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest updates. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia available with the Sky Network, Worldwide Jagu TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jagu BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.